Let me tell you about the day I discovered my own brother sold our family home behind my back while I was fighting cancer. He told everyone I didn't deserve a share because I was too emotional to make good decisions. I'm Diane. I'm 54 years old, and today I'm sharing something that's been weighing heavily on my heart. If you believe that respect is earned through actions, not just given because someone shares your DNA, then you're my kind of people. Drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. Now let me tell you how my baby brother's greed became his biggest mistake. Let me paint you a picture of what we're talking about here. I grew up in Oakland, California, in a beautiful 1940s Victorian house that my grandparents bought when they moved up from Louisiana during the Great Migration. Honey, that house was everything. It had this wraparound porch where 3 generations of my family celebrated birthdays, graduations, and Sunday dinners after church. When my mama passed from diabetes complications 5 years ago, and my daddy followed just 8 months later, the doctor said heart failure. But we knew better. It was pure heartbreak. They left that house to both me and my younger brother Marcus. The will was simple. We both owned it equally, and if one of us wanted to sell, the other had the right to buy it out at fair market value. Now Marcus, bless his heart, he's 50 years old and has always been what my mama used to call smooth as butter but twice as slippery. Baby brother could talk his way into or out of anything. He'd bounce from job to job, scheme to scheme, but somehow always managed to charm his way back on his feet. Me? I was the responsible big sister. Spent 30 years as a school administrator, got my pension all squared away, never married because I was always too busy taking care of everybody else. After the funerals, I moved back into our childhood home. It felt right, you know what I mean. I was keeping Mama's spirit alive in that kitchen, maintaining Daddy's prize-winning tomato garden, making sure our family's legacy stayed protected. That house had grown in value too. What my grandparents bought for $8,000 in 1955 was now worth close to $900,000. Marcus would come visit me regularly, and I thought he was being such a caring little brother. He'd sit at that same kitchen table where Mama used to serve us grits and eggs every morning before school, and he'd pitch me these wild business ideas. Cryptocurrency, multi-level marketing, real estate flipping, always something that was going to make us rich quickly. Diane? He'd say, and he always used my full name when he was trying to butter me up. We are sitting on an absolute gold mine here, sister. This house could set us both up for the rest of our lives. You could get yourself a nice little condo in the hills. Maybe take that cruise to Jamaica you always talked about. Really enjoy your retirement properly. And every single time, I'd shake my head and tell him, Marcus, I am not selling Mama and Daddy's house. This isn't just property to me. This is our family's foundation. This is where Daddy taught us to change oil in that driveway. Where Mama braided my hair every Sunday morning before church. Where every single room holds memories that no amount of money could ever replace. He'd always nod real understanding like. Flash that $1 million smile that got him out of trouble when we were kids. Give me a big hug and say, you're absolutely right, Di. Family first always. I respect that. Y'all, I believed him. I thought that sweet little boy who used to crawl into my bed during thunderstorms was still somewhere inside this grown man sitting at our parents' table. I had no earthly idea that he was already plotting the biggest betrayal of my entire life. The first red flag should have been when he started asking strange questions about my health, my medications, and whether the cancer treatments were affecting my memory or decision-making. But I thought he was just being concerned. Shows you how naive your girl was being. Now I need to back up and tell you about my cancer diagnosis. At 53, breast cancer hit me like a Mack truck. The treatments, the surgery, the chemotherapy, even with good insurance, those medical bills were crushing me financially. But you know what? Marcus actually stepped up during this time. He was visiting more often, bringing me groceries when I was too weak to shop, even driving me to chemo appointments when I couldn't handle it myself. I was finally starting to feel human again. My hair was growing back. I had some energy returning, and I was sitting in Mama's favorite armchair, organizing old family photos when I heard a car pull up in our driveway. I looked through those lace curtains Mama had hung 40 years ago, and I saw this man in an expensive suit walking up to our front door with a clipboard and a professional camera. When I answered that door, he smiled at me like we'd been expecting him all along. Ms. Washington, I'm here for the property assessment. Y'all, my stomach dropped straight to my feet. Excuse me? What assessment? For the listing, he said, looking at his paperwork. Mr. Marcus Washington scheduled this evaluation. Said you both were ready to put the house on the market and wanted to move fast. The whole world started spinning around me. Sir, there has been a serious mistake. We are absolutely not selling this house. This man looked confused, checked his papers again. Are you Diane Washington, co-owner of 1247 Magnolia Street? Yes, but, well, according to my work order here, this assessment is for both registered owners. Mr. Washington told me you'd been discussing the sale for months and were eager to get the process started as soon as possible. After I sent that man away, my hands were shaking so bad I could barely dial Marcus's number. And honey, when I tell you what this man said to me, you're going to understand why I knew something was very, very wrong. So I called Marcus immediately, and y'all, the way this man answered the phone told me everything I needed to know. His voice was all casual, like he'd been expecting my call. Oh, that little assessment, he said like it was nothing. Diane, I just wanted to get a current appraisal on the house. You know, with all your medical expenses piling up and everything, I figured maybe you'd reconsidered our situation. Knowledge is power, right? I was just trying to be prepared in case you changed your mind. Marcus, I told him, trying to keep my voice steady because I was about to lose it. I have not changed my mind about anything. And you should have asked me before having strangers evaluate our family home. You're absolutely right, sister. That's my bad completely. I should have called you first. I was just trying to look out for you. Make sure we understood all our options with your medical situation and everything. But y'all, something in his voice was different. It was cold, calculating, like he was reading from some kind of script instead of talking to his own flesh and blood. Promise me, I said to him. Promise me you will not do anything else regarding this house without talking to me first. Of course, Diane. Family first, always. You know that's how I operate. 3 weeks later, and this is the part that still makes my blood boil, while I was at my oncology follow-up appointment, the one that was supposed to confirm my cancer was finally in remission. I came home to discover exactly what kind of looking out for me my baby brother had been doing. I pulled into my driveway and there was a bright red "Sold" sign planted in our front yard like a dagger through my heart. I sat in my car staring at that "Sold" sign, wondering if I was losing my mind. Had the cancer treatments affected my memory? Had Marcus and I actually discussed selling, and somehow I'd forgotten the whole conversation? But then I saw him. Marcus was standing on our front porch, our mama's front porch, shaking hands with this middle-aged white couple and a woman in a real estate blazer, all of them grinning like they'd just won the lottery. When Marcus spotted me walking up that driveway, his face went white as a sheet. Diane, you're back early from your appointment. How did everything go? Marcus, I said, and my voice was barely above a whisper. What in the hell is happening here? This real estate agent stepped forward with that fake professional smile. You must be Diane. I'm Jennifer Morrison, and these lovely people are the new owners, Mr. and Mrs. Hartman. Marcus has told us so much about you. We're absolutely thrilled to restore this gorgeous home to its original glory. New owners. Those words felt like broken glass going down my throat. Marcus grabbed my elbow, trying to pull me away from the group. Diane, let's just step inside and talk privately for a minute. No. I yanked my arm away from him. Marcus, you tell me right now what you have done. The Hartmans could feel the tension, honey. Mrs. Hartman cleared her throat, all uncomfortable. Maybe we should give you folks some privacy to sort this out. That would be perfect, Marcus said real quick. Just some family business to handle. After they left, I turned to face my brother on that porch, where we'd spent countless summer evenings as children, and I asked him to explain himself. Marcus ran his hand over his face, and suddenly he looked every bit of his 50 years. Diane, you've been through so much with this cancer. The medical bills, all that stress and worry. I was trying to help you, and help me? By selling our parents' house without my permission? You kept saying no every time I brought up selling. I knew you'd never agree. But I also knew you needed this money desperately. Sometimes family has to make the hard decisions for each other. Family? Marcus, this is fraud! You cannot sell property that belongs to both of us without my consent. And y'all, this is the part that still gives me chills. This man looked me dead in my eyes and said, "Actually, I can. I had a lawyer look into the whole situation. Since we both own the property and you've been unwell with the cancer treatments and medications, I was able to petition the court for temporary authority to handle the sale in both our best interests." I felt like I'd been slapped across the face. "Unwell? Marcus, I have cancer, not dementia. And when exactly did you file this petition? Because I certainly never received any notice." "The notice was mailed to this address," he said, not even able to look me in the eye. "Maybe it got lost in all your medical paperwork and bills." That night, I tore through every single piece of mail I'd received over the past 6 months. And sure enough, buried in a stack of medical bills, I found it. A legal notice that had arrived the exact week I was in the hospital for my mastectomy. The language was all confusing legal talk, obviously designed to be overlooked or misunderstood. It granted Marcus temporary power of attorney for property decisions while I was incapacitated due to medical treatment. The next morning, I started making phone calls to lawyers. And honey, the news just kept getting worse. I called 3 different lawyers that morning, and every single conversation made my heart sink deeper. Marcus had covered his tracks well, y'all. The sale was technically legal, even though it was morally bankrupt and built on lies. Our house had sold for $850,000, which was actually below market value for a quick sale, and after real estate fees and legal costs, my half should have been about $400,000. Should have been. When I confronted Marcus about my money, this man had the audacity to tell me, "Well, Diane, I had to cover some significant expenses. The legal fees for handling everything, the major repairs that needed to be done to get the house ready for sale, storage costs for all of Mama and Daddy's belongings. After everything was settled, your share comes to about $200,000. What repairs?" I demanded. "What storage costs?" "Marcus, I was living in that house until 3 weeks ago, and it was in perfect condition. There were some issues the buyers found during their inspection," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Nothing too serious, just some foundation work that needed addressing, some electrical updates to bring everything up to code. I took care of it all so we could close quickly and get you your money." Y'all, that's when I knew something was very, very wrong. Our house had been in excellent condition. My daddy was meticulous about maintenance his whole life, and I'd kept up with every single thing after he passed. There were no foundation issues, no electrical problems, nothing. "I want to see that inspection report," I told him. "Diane, it's all technical stuff. You wouldn't understand the construction terminology. Try me." It took me 2 weeks and 3 different lawyers to get my hands on that inspection report. And when I finally saw it, I was ready to fight. When I finally got that inspection report, I could not believe what I was reading. The foundation issues were tiny cosmetic cracks that every old house has. Normal settling that doesn't affect anything structural. The electrical problems were just a few outlets in the basement that weren't up to the newest code requirements, but were perfectly safe and functional. Marcus claimed these repairs cost $180,000. Y'all, I had been a school administrator for 30 years. I'd overseen building maintenance and renovations for entire school districts. The work he was describing should have cost maybe $15,000 at the most, but that wasn't even the worst part of this whole mess. While I was digging deeper into all the sale documents, I discovered something that changed everything. Marcus had been planning this betrayal for over a year. He started the legal process 6 months before I was even diagnosed with cancer. My illness just gave him the perfect cover story to make it all seem legitimate. I found emails, phone records, and meeting notes with lawyers and real estate agents. All this time, he was sitting at my kitchen table, eating the food I cooked, letting me help him when he needed money, accepting my love and trust. And he was planning to steal from me the entire time. That real estate agent, Jennifer Morrison, was very helpful when I called her with questions. She thought I knew all about the sale plans, so she was happy to share details. "Your brother was so worried about your medical situation," she told me. "He said you'd specifically asked him to handle everything, because the stress was too much for you to deal with. What a thoughtful man, taking such good care of his sick sister. Thoughtful. Can you believe that?" But then Jennifer said something that made my heart start racing. "I do hope those foundation issues don't cause any problems down the road. Those repairs seemed awfully expensive, but Marcus insisted on using that particular contractor. Said he was a family friend who'd give you the best work. That family friend contractor was Marcus's poker buddy, Jimmy Rodriguez. And Jimmy's work? Well, let's just say when you're laundering money through fake repairs, quality isn't exactly the top priority. 4 months after the Hartmans moved into my family home, I got a phone call that I'd been both dreading and secretly hoping for. Ms. Washington? This is David Hartman. We purchased your family's house on Magnolia Street. Yes, Mr. Hartman. How can I help you? We're having some very serious problems with this house. The foundation work your brother claimed was completed, it was never actually done. The electrical updates he charged us for, they were done so poorly that they're actually dangerous now. Our contractor says the work was either never performed at all, or it was done by someone who had no business touching electrical wiring. My heart was pounding, but I kept my voice calm and steady. I'm very sorry to hear that, Mr. Hartman. What does this mean for your family? It means we need about $75,000 worth of actual proper repairs to make this house safe for our children to live in. Our lawyer says we have strong grounds to sue your brother for fraud. The work he claimed was completed and charged us for. Most of it doesn't exist, and what does exist was done so badly it created new problems. 3 days later, guess who showed up at my little apartment, the tiny one-bedroom place I'd had to rent after he stole my home from me? Marcus was standing in my doorway, looking like he'd been hit by a truck. Diane, I need your help, he said. The Hartmans are suing me. Their lawyer is calling it fraud, saying I misrepresented the condition of the property. This could destroy my whole life. Y'all, I almost started laughing. Destroy your life? Marcus, you sold our mama's house out from under me while I was fighting for my life with cancer. You forged legal documents, lied to lawyers, and stole over $200,000 from your own sister. And you're worried about your life being destroyed? Look, I know you're upset with me, Marcus said, but this is family business. We can't let these outside people destroy our family over money issues. Family business? I repeated, staring at this man who shared my blood but clearly didn't share my values. Where was family when you were planning to sell Mama's house behind my back for over a year? Where was family when you used my cancer diagnosis as an excuse to steal from me? I didn't steal from you. I got you $200,000 that you never would have seen if we just kept that old house. You should be thanking me for taking care of everything. The sheer audacity took my breath away. Thanking you? Marcus, my rightful half of that house was worth $425,000. You pocketed over $200,000 of my money, and you want me to be grateful? There were legitimate expenses. There were lies. I pulled out a thick folder I'd been keeping by my front door, knowing this conversation would eventually happen. I know about Jimmy Rodriguez and his shoddy fake repairs. I know you've been planning this scam for over a year. I have documented everything. Every lie you told, every document you manipulated, every single penny you stole from me. Y'all, Marcus went white as a ghost. Diane, what are you talking about? I'm talking about phone records, emails, bank statements, contractor estimates. I know exactly what you did and exactly how you did it. The Hartman's lawyer called me yesterday. They want me to testify about the real condition of our house before the sale, about what repairs were actually needed, about whether I knew about or approved any of this work that supposedly cost $180,000. You cannot testify against your own brother. Watch me, I told him. Unless you make this right, all of it, you're going to compensate the Hartmans for every penny of those fraudulent repairs. You're going to give me back the $200,000 you stole from my inheritance, and you're going to publicly admit what you did. I don't have that kind of money. Then you better figure something out real quick, because prison is your only other option. 2 weeks later, I testified in court. I presented every piece of evidence I'd collected, the planning emails, the fake repair receipts, the contractor estimates showing what the work actually should have cost. Marcus's lawyer tried to paint me as a bitter sister seeking revenge, but honey, the evidence spoke for itself. The judge sentenced Marcus to 2 years in prison for fraud and ordered him to pay $150,000 in restitution to the Hartmans. The civil court awarded me $275,000 in damages. After the verdict, Marcus looked at me with tears in his eyes and asked, "How could you do this to your own brother?" "I didn't do this to you, Marcus," I told him quietly. "You did this to yourself, and you did it to our family. You broke us the day you decided your greed was more important than my trust." Today, I'm living in a beautiful little house that I bought with my settlement money. It's not the home I grew up in. That place belongs to strangers now because of my brother's selfishness. But this house is mine, bought honestly, without betraying anyone I love. Marcus gets out of prison next month. He's written me letters asking for forgiveness, promising he's changed. Maybe he has. Maybe prison taught him what family really means. But I learned something important too, y'all. Family isn't just about sharing blood. It's about honor, respect, loyalty, and treating the people you love with the care and honesty they deserve. Some bonds, once broken, can never be fully repaired. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone face the consequences of their choices. Thank you for listening to my story, beautiful people. If this resonated with you, if you believe trust has to be earned and re-earned through actions, not just words, please share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and doing what's right? I'd love to hear from you. Remember, respect is earned, not inherited. Take care of yourselves and the people who truly